So the topic this evening is designed to prepare us for Lama Willa's talk next Wednesday, which is focused on a set of teachings from the Himalayan Buddhist tradition that are really quite radical in that they embolden us to welcome into our meditation practice the feelings and thoughts that we may tend to push away. Or as Pema Chodron says, we're invited to go to the places that scare us. So that is not something to undertake lightly, and I felt like giving us some tools to equip us for that journey to keep us safe would be in order. So I'll be presenting a set of practices that may help us to do that, to both maximize the deeply transformative potential of these practices, or at least minimize the risk of causing psychological harm to ourselves. There's been some rich discussion within the Sangha Leaders Cohort email group around the topic of meditation, mental illness, and adverse effects. So I wanted to acknowledge that, not to scare anyone off, but if we're practicing this evening and you feel the need to take care of yourself, please do so. If you need to get up and walk around, or even leave the room for a moment, or take a series of deep breaths, very important to take care of ourselves. A couple of resources that are also helpful for later is David Trelevin's Trauma-Sensitive Mindfulness is an excellent resource. And then Willoughby Britton did a great talk on the Mind and Life podcast with Wendy Hasenkamp, who's local with Mind and Life Institute, that talks about ways that we can keep ourselves safe through as we undergo these transformative practices. All right, so the meditation practices we'll be exploring tonight are from the Natural Dharma Fellowship, which is an organization that was co-founded by Lama Willa Baker, who will be here a week from Wednesday. And it's from a particular program of study called the Marga program. Marga means path in Sanskrit. And I am not a mitra for that program, although we have two mitras or guides here in Charlottesville for that, Cindy Newhouse and Helen Gatling Austin, who goes by Dara. So my intention is to give us a broad overview of these practices. And if you find that you're interested in learning more about these practices, I do encourage you to find out more about this 2-year Marga program that Natural Dharma Fellowship offers. So again, I just wanted to say that I am not a teacher in that particular program because there are specific requirements around that in the training program. So just sharing a high-level overview to help us prepare us for Lama Willa's talk. Also, before we get underway with the practices, I want to acknowledge the many wise individuals who formulated the Marga program. And it's a distillation of traditional Tibetan Buddhist practices for a Western audience. So Lama John McCransky, who you may know through this book, Awakening Through Love, a lot of the practices are based on that. Highly recommend this book. And also Lama Willa and Lama Liz Monson, Camille Hikes, the late Bob Morrison, and other leaders of that Marga program. So that's my acknowledgement section. I have been involved with the Natural Dharma Fellowship and currently serve on their board since 2020, and really enjoyed how that organization in its approach brings together the world of Western psychology, as well as bringing the body into the practice. And I hope you'll enjoy those elements too. So just an overview of our time together this evening. We'll take in a moment a chance to connect with our bodies, to do a little bit of stretching to help us settle. But before we do that, I'm going to lead us in a traditional practice of taking refuge. That word is sometimes translated as safe direction. So we'll take a moment to connect with our inner and outer sources of refuge. And then we'll reflect on our motivation for why are we here this evening engaging in so-called spiritual practice, and perhaps even to set an intention for our practice this evening. We'll do a practice that helps to connect us to our own innate perfection and basic goodness, called the three naturals, referring to body, breath, and mind. And then we'll take a break and we'll have a chance to go outside, perhaps. Should be around the time of the sunset, so you could even spend a few minutes outside communing with the natural world. And then we'll come back in and explore another two practices, one that is entitled the Benefactor practice, and another one that is entitled Compassionate Presence to Feelings. And again, this will just be brief tastes of these practices that we could practice for lifetimes. And then we'll have some time for questions and comments and some group reflection, and then conclude by dedicating the merit of our practice together this evening. So, any questions before we get started with a settling meditation? Great. So let's take a moment to check in with the body, finding a way to sit that supports our well-being. Often that will involve checking in to see that the spine is straight, or at least relatively so, and that the feet are firmly grounded. And just taking a moment to do any gentle stretching that the body needs. And then let's take 3 deep breaths together. So beginning with a full exhale. Inhale down into the belly and up into the chest. Hold the breath in briefly at the top, and then exhale smoothly and slowly. And again, another inhale deep into the belly, up into the heart, and a long, slow exhale, releasing distractions and stress. A couple of more rounds at your own pace. Great, and then allowing the breath to return to a normal rhythm. And let's move into taking refuge, which we can all do in our own way, connecting with those sources of safe direction, which traditionally are the Buddha, the Dharma or the teachings, and the Sangha, which is our community of wise friends along the path. We'll do the traditional refuge chant in the Tibetan language to connect us in with that lineage of Tibetan Buddhism, and then a translation of that refuge prayer. Sangye chudang sogi chugnam la, jangshu bardu dagni kyabsu chi, daki jinso gipe sonam gi, drola penchir sangye drupar shog. Which means I and all sentient beings go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues we collect by giving and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood to benefit all. So what we're taking refuge in here really is our own basic goodness and that part of us that is already whole. So I'll share one other so-called ultimate refuge prayer to help us tap into that. I take refuge in the expanse of space, primal awareness, and unconfined compassion, which is the deep nature of everyone's mind for the sake of all. So let's transition into reflecting on our motivation. So just asking yourself, what draws me to this practice of meditation? What deeper yearning does that represent for me? What drew me to contemplative or spiritual practice in the first place? What is my heart's deepest yearning? So in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the traditional formulation for intention takes the form of what are called the three principal aspects of the path, namely renunciation, which sounds a bit scary, but we can think of that one as recommitting to our spiritual path, or to the joyful ethics that Sharon shared with us last week, and that Brian Lesage and others so wonderfully articulate. And then the second of those three principal aspects of the path refers to a Sanskrit term called bodhicitta from the Mahayana framework and patterns of practice. And this refers to cultivating an altruistic intention to reach enlightenment, not for ourselves in isolation, but rather for the benefit of all. And then the third of these three traditional aspects of the path refers to cultivating wisdom. And this isn't necessarily wisdom in an academic sort of way, but rather a specific type of wisdom that has the capacity to realize what is sometimes translated as emptiness, but could also be translated as fullness or interdependence. Let's just take a few more moments to reflect on our intention and motivation, and perhaps see if any of those three principal aspects of the path resonate with us. So just for a moment, connecting back in with the body, making those minor adjustments in our seated posture. And connecting back in with the breath as we move into a little bit more of an extended period of practice. So once again, let's take 3 deep cleansing breaths to help settle the body and the nervous system. So we can do these at our own pace. And on the exhale, we could even visualize that we're letting go of tension and tightness, not only in the body, but also in the mind. And the exhale can also be a reminder to release the past and the future so that we can more fully arrive in this precious moment. And let's take some moments to connect in with the solid, mountain-like heaviness of the body. Feeling the connection between the soles of the feet and the earth beneath us, as if the soles of our feet were growing roots down to the center of the earth. And likewise, noticing how the backs of the thighs and your seat are supported by the chair or bench beneath us. Almost as if our chair or bench were rising up to support us in our practice. Noticing if whether from this grounding down into the support of the earth and the bench, noticing if there's an opportunity for the crown of the head to reach for the sky a little bit more. And perhaps from that extension upwards, there's a permission for the shoulders to drop back and down, and for the heart to open more fully. And just beginning to notice our inner mental and emotional experience, noticing whatever's present in the heart mind. And if there's a lot of busyness in the mind, we can know that that's completely normal, part of being human. And in that case, rather than doing something about the busyness, just allow the heavy groundedness of the body to draw the attention down. Like a magnet drawing iron filings. No effort is required to do this. It's almost as if the body were exerting a gravitational pull on the thoughts. And perhaps as the mind settles, there's a feeling of homecoming. To who we truly are. To that part of us that is still, even when the mind is racing, to that part of us that is calm even during a thunderstorm of emotion. a homecoming to that part of us that is free. That always has been free. And that will always be free. And when we feel the mind starting to close up again by holding on to a narrow frame or clinging to a thought or feeling, we can just let the body and mind relax and reconnect with the natural openness that is already here. Again, just letting all patterns of thought and feeling unwind and release within a space of deep acceptance, allowing the body, breath, and mind to be exactly as they are right now. So as we move towards the end of our meditation session, let's begin to allow the attention to widen out again to fill the entire body. And then on another exhale, allowing the attention to widen out beyond the container of this body, out into this room, noticing in our mind's eye our dear friends gathered here for practice with us today. And then allowing the attention to open even more fully into a vast panorama of awareness. As if we're gazing out at a sunrise over a mountain. Beginning to allow the eyes to flutter open, allowing any stretch that feels juicy and good. So thank you for your practice. I wanted to open it up to see if there are any brief sharings before we go on our break, knowing that we will have an opportunity towards the end. We have someone on Zoom.
Hey,
No?
hey, Matt. Thank you. I just wonder if we can get a view of who's in the church there. I haven't, I'm just curious, maybe if everyone could wave to the people on Zoom.
Yeah, let's actually get up and turn around and our wave to our Zoom Sangha can also be a stretch.
We old stand.
Big crowd.
It is.
That's where everyone
Yeah. All right, so we'll take, let's actually do a 10-minute break. And this would be a great chance to, to go outside, not in a ordinary sort of way, but as a way to begin to commune with the natural world as a benefactor, as a support for our practice. So if you feel so moved to go out in the labyrinth, to go look at the sunset, please do feel free. And we'll come back together at 7:52. Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. How was the sunset? Did anyone go outside? Oh, great. Oh, super. Oh, you went in the garden. Great. Yeah, super. Yeah. All right. So for the next few minutes, let's explore the benefactor practice. And again, I want to give credit to Lama John McCransky. This is described more fully in this book, Awakening Through Love. But it's a type of kind of a shorthand for a style of meditation that Lama John adapted from traditional Buddhist practices. And it's based on traditional Tibetan Buddhist devotional practices where the practitioner visualizes a caring spiritual figure or a field, a group of such figures in whom we can place our trust and from whom we can receive inspiration and unconditional love and guidance. So by doing this benefactor practice, we can access a deep sense of inner support and the natural loving qualities and dignity of our fundamental awareness. So that can seem a little bit broad, because it's hard to just all of a sudden pivot into our own Buddha nature. So we can visualize as these benefactors someone like the historical Buddha who lived 25 centuries ago. Or we could visualize and call to our heart mind other teachers within our particular lineage. And we can also include more secular figures, like mentors we may have had, family members, friends, beloved animal companions, the natural world. And so just as an example around how the natural world could be seen as a benefactor is with the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. We're always in a reciprocal relationship with plants. We're providing the carbon dioxide and they're providing us back with oxygen. So there's this aspect of reciprocity in this benefactor practice. So this caring field could also include your dear Sangha members who are gathered here tonight, and particular deities, not necessarily limited to the Buddhist tradition. So this benefactor practice was developed by Lama John McCransky to help Western modern practitioners in our own time and culture to more easily access the same principles of traditional devotional practices in the Tibetan Buddhist lineage. So it's a way to access the essence of feeling cared for and loved, but without the baggage is too strong of a word, but without the challenges that doing so in Asian cultural forms can have. So I'll just share from my own practice, just to give you a sense of who this field of care, these benefactors could be. So my benefactors and sources of inspiration include Sri Swami Satchidananda, my first yoga teacher at Satchidananda Ashram Yogaville, an hour south of here. Taro Brock with the Insight Meditation Community, Washington. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and some other masters from the Gelug lineage of Tibetan Buddhism, with whom I've been very fortunate to receive teachings. So Gyume Khensa Rinpoche, His Excellency Ling Rinpoche, And then also the founding Lamas of Natural Dharma Fellowship with whom I'm studying, Lama Willa and Lama Liz. And then I also have in my field of care among my benefactors, my family and ancestors, particularly my father, who is a brilliant physicist and philosopher. We like to debate the finer points of Western philosophy versus Buddhist philosophy, the merits of science versus spiritual practice, and many other topics of multi-hour conversations that go way too late into the night. So he is definitely has my back. And so we can think of these benefactors as people who truly have our back. And of course, my little Shih Tzu, Cooper, just gazes up with those giant eyes, with this just loving and very quizzical and concerned gaze, making sure everything's all right. He'll lie at the door at night, looking outwards to, in his way, protect me. It's like the essence of it, just he's got my back. So yeah, let's, just to get a brief taste of this benefactor practice, let's settle in again for a short period of meditation. And doing the usual preparatory things, checking in with the body, seeing that it's comfortable. So beginning by calling to mind a benefactor, someone living or otherwise, human or otherwise. And if a human or other individual is not coming up, this can even be a place that feels sacred or safe. A church, a place in nature, a meditation hall, or your back porch. I'm just calling to mind someone or some place who is a source of love and inspiration to you. And then imagining this benefactor right in front of you, not as a memory, but as if they were present now with you. We can imagine or sense them gazing upon us with unconditional acceptance and love, seeing you in your deepest goodness and true potential, wishing you deeply well. And this unconditional love and care is beyond any limiting thoughts we might have about who or what we think we are, or what we think we deserve. It's far beyond that. And then just bask in this warm love from your benefactor. You might visualize your benefactor in the form of radiant light, bathing you from head to toe And this radiant light can soothe and release any physical tension. Allowing it to relax and dissolve. And this radiant light of love can also ease any mental or emotional tension, anxiety or worry, just dissolving in the brilliant, radiant light of your benefactor's love. So that we don't have to struggle with difficult feelings, but instead allow them to be permeated by this radiant, loving light from your benefactor. Now, gently allowing this visualization of warmth and light to dissolve. Just release all effort and relax into the afterglow, the openness and warmth of deeply letting everything be just as it is. So maintaining an inward focus here, going to transition us into our final practice for the evening, which is entitled Compassionate Presence to Feelings and Thoughts. Again, developed by Lama John McCransky, drawing on the teachings of Sokni Rinpoche. So there's a lot going on in the world right now, a lot going on in our Sangha. There may be some mixed emotions around the transition our Sangha has been going through. Perhaps some afterthoughts from the session last week with Catherine around the exciting new directions for IMCC and the possibilities. And there may be emotions around dear Sangha members not with us tonight. I know for me personally, I've been on a roller coaster of emotion around the spiraling news media around the Dalai Lama. Without going into detail on that, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. So this practice of compassionate presence to feelings and thoughts gives us a way to allow these difficult thoughts and emotions. So as we prepare to engage in a short version of this practice, let's re-invoke our loving benefactor or field of benefactors, knowing that they represent a capacity within ourselves to offer and sustain love, compassion, and care towards ourselves in our experience. So again, sitting comfortably, perhaps adjusting the posture once again. Let's take a long, deep, cleansing breath. And dropping down from the thinking mind into the body. Again, feeling the support of the earth and the bench or chair beneath us. Settling into that felt sense of visceral support. And now begin to bring awareness to any part of the body, whether it's a foot or hand or some other part, and just sense any physical feeling that's part or in that part of the body, whether it's unpleasant, pleasant, or neutral. And then without any agenda to change that feeling in any way, just be aware of it in a gentle, accepting, and kind way. Inviting a sense of deep allowing whatever is arising in this body part. And it would be very normal to notice a reaction to this physical sensation or feeling, like a wish for it to just go away. And if so, we can just be aware of that reaction in the same accepting and gentle way. Again, without an agenda, without trying to change or fix that reaction to the feeling. And now we'll begin to transition our focus to the emotional landscape. So once again, in preparation, reestablishing the visualization of your benefactor, imagining them right before us, right here with us in our heart, radiating acceptance and love. And then let's invite in a slightly unpleasant emotional feeling, slightly unpleasant, that you've been feeling or struggling with recently. Could be a source of worry or anxiety, feeling of overwhelm, feeling of frustration or irritation at someone or something. Whatever the feeling is, you can bring awareness to it as we feel it within, with a sense of deep acceptance, like a friend bearing witness to your feeling with you. See if you can let go of any storyline about why this feeling is there, about how we're going to change it, ruminating about why it's there, but instead just allow this feeling to be there. And if there is a reaction of not wanting this feeling, of trying to push it away, we can again be with that reaction with the same sense of deep acceptance and kindness towards it. You may even imagine this feeling as a troubled friend. We're not imposing our agenda on that friend or trying to get our friend to change or go away. Again, we're quietly present with this friend with warmth and kindness. By being with feelings in this safe and friendly way, you may find that those feelings reveal underlying feelings, as if peeling back layers of an onion. And as those deeper underlying feelings arise, We can be them with them in the same gentle and welcoming way. Without an agenda to solve or fix or change anything about them. So now let's release the set of feelings. Let your mind and heart release their frameworks and relax and fall open, as if a fist were unclenching. Relaxing back into the loving acceptance of our benefactor. And into the vast openness of awareness. Taking these last few moments in this meditation to release all effort. Take a moment to enjoy being at ease. Thank you for your practice. Let's tend to the body once again. If you want to get up and stretch, just briefly, we just have a few minutes remaining. Okay. So let's have a few minutes for sharings, questions, experiences, both from our in-person Sangha and our dear Zoom Sangha. I see John.
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Matt, for such a nice Dharma talk and exercise. And I'm really grateful. I thought of my Uncle Merle, who I haven't thought of in a long time. He passed away maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but he always, every single time I was with him, he always had such unconditional love for everyone. And it was someone who came quickly to mind. So thanks for helping me remember him.
Thanks, John. Susan.
Matt, your comments on benefactors, suddenly it kind of connected with me that benefactors we usually think of is that in beings that supported us over time, but it struck me, oh, wait a minute, what if isn't everything that teaches us a benefactor, even if it's just once? And the reason why I thought this is because this week I had a plant benefactor that taught me something. And I thought, now, isn't this a benefactor? And so, I don't know, it widened my view of what a benefactor is. So thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, Dan.
I also have sort of a thought about benefactors that arose, and that is that I sort of feel like one of the purposes of spiritual practice is to find your benefactor within you, and that maybe the Buddha is such an inspirational figure because he had the courage to actually go and do that and show that that was possible. And I guess, well, I don't know what else I was going to say about that.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Thanks, Dan. The external benefactors are actually just reminding us of aspects of ourselves so that we can tap into this wellspring of compassion and love towards ourselves. So ultimately, the ultimate benefactor and the ultimate source of refuge is our own Buddha nature, our own natural awakened state.
And just to add another note on to what Susan said about seeing so many benefactors around me, reflecting even on the Dalai Lama, how much I have learned, and just this notion of all of the universality of our humanity and the deep radiant goodness that resides within everyone. And I also appreciated your reminder of the benefactors in the natural world. I went out here and stood by one of the larger trees in the yard, the hand on the trunk, and just to recognize that this too is part of that practice. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. And I imagine that Lama Willa is going to be guiding us in more of that type of practice, both in the talk here and in the weekend retreat. Sidna.
It took me a while because I wanted to be free, and I thought of my favorite mountain in New Hampshire that I used to hike a lot. I miss it so much, but it's been there longer than the Buddha, I guess. And it's always there for me. It's always there. And I'm really looking forward to next weekend. What you said tonight, what people said about the nature. That's where I find. And I don't know how to say it. You substitute the word baggage for something else, and now I can't remember what it was. But anyway, challenges. Well, there are no challenges. Well, mind you, this is a challenge to hike this mountain, even more so today. But I'm very grateful for my love for it, and it goes inside me. Thank you.
Thanks, Sidna. There's Oh, all right, Linda, please.
Oh, thank you. I just really can't possibly say how much this meant to me, the whole talk. Thank you so much. And I do have a tenant, but I live alone and I don't even have a little dog to have my back. But as you talked about benefactors, little by little by little, I just felt their presence and the word radiance that you used. And it just seemed like the house was full, you know, not alone at all. And it just felt extremely supported. And there are people in this room who I think of strongly as benefactors. So all of that together, and like, I guess it was Teresa looking at the tree trunks. I was just doing that when we went outside. Those tree trunks were just coming to life. Thank you so much.
So welcome, Linda. Beautiful. Really wonderful. We're seeing David's benefactor. Well, I see we are at the bottom of the hour. Any last minute shares? Yeah, please, Frank. I admire your courage.
Thank you. First of all, this is my first time, and I appreciate every one of you for letting me be here with you today. My benefactor that I thought about is a little more abstract. My grandfather was from Kansas City in the 1930s. He was a jazz musician, and so he knew Count Basie. I'm sorry, and that used to be. And so for me, growing up, jazz music was around me all the time, and I found something very deeply personal that I couldn't explain. And I've spent my life surrounded by that. I'm originally from Detroit, so music's always been around me. And it's always been a refuge for me in its own sense that is an abstraction, but at the same time has always been a comfort that I've always kind of fallen back into. And some of the more important moments in my life have always involved the comfort brought by people I've never met in my life, people that died long before I was even born. But I find myself still talking to in my own way, because what they've brought into my life, kind of a soundtrack that's always playing in my head. So just an abstract kind of thought of it in terms of a benefactor. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Yeah, these benefactors can be ancestors whom we never have met, or even archetypes. Yeah, including Count Basie. Loving it. Was there someone on Zoom? Oh, hi, Eliza.
Had a surprising benefactor appear. My mother died when I was 8, and I just realized that she has been with me throughout my life, supporting me, and I feel that so strongly now in my mid-80s, that she is so close. So thank you. That was a surprise benefactor.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, dear friends, Thank you for being with me on this sweeping journey. Again, if you're interested in learning more, Lama Willa will be here on Wednesday, and then happy to show you these books afterwards. And so something traditional to do at the end of a practice period is to dedicate merit. So merit we can think of as positive potential towards change and growth. So we've done a lot of practice together by sharing and supporting each other. So it's traditional, at least in the Himalayan Buddhist world, to dedicate that merit so that it can be of benefit to others. So I'll read the dedication of merit from the Recovery Dharma group that I participate in, because I think it just encapsulates this spirit beautifully. Refuge does not arise in a particular place, but in the space within the goodness of our hearts. When this space is imbued with wisdom, respect, and love, we call it Sangha. We hope that the pain of addiction, trauma, and feeling apart actually leads us back toward the heart, and that we might understand compassion, wisdom, and change ever more deeply. As we have learned from practice, great pain does not erase goodness, but in fact informs it. May we make the best use of our practice and whatever freedom arises from our efforts here today. May this be a cause and condition for less suffering and more safety in our world.